Trivia question. Do you know what Friday is? The foul territory holiday.
My off day.
I know that.
I'm playing in a golf tournament on Friday, so
To
I don't know
celebrate.
what it is.
It's a holiday. Okay, you don't know it. Kratz might know it. Nope.
Not Friday.
I don't think
No,
you'll
Monday
know it,
is.
Cam.
If the kids don't get out of school, I definitely don't know what it is.
My kids are
Foul
out.
Territory's 500th episode.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Cool, right?
Love it.
Isn't that cool?
That's
Sweet.
a cool number.
Sick.
Yeah. We're grinders, so we don't really look up. We just keep grinding. But a sponsor pointed it out. I was having a phone call the other day, and they were like, congrats, you guys are almost at 500. I'm like, what? And he's like,
Grinders.
Because he's like, I look at the YouTube episode every day and see what number it is. I'm like, oops, 500. Let's party on Friday.
You guys can have a great party.
Will you take a shot for us on Friday to celebrate? Or
A what?
A
A shot?
Like, do something for us, like a little cheers to us, something on Friday.
I'll have to do something. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Just send us a little video and be like, cheers,
well,
FT. No?
Yeah, I will.
Literally 10 seconds on your phone.
It sounds like you're so
like,
busy.
Well, no, I'm playing in a golf tournament. I got to drive. That's the problem. I got to drive. So
when you're there. Oh, you're saying
the golf tournament starts at 1 o'clock. It's it's for what's it called? Annika Sorensen charity. So
cool.
Gotta I don't know. Yeah, I mean I can have one drink, I guess, but I don't really want to.
Oh, you don't?
Maybe I could have I'll do a shot of water or something for you guys.
Yeah, that's all.
Something.
Yeah,
perfect. I don't want to be driving across town after having a drink. That's
no,
not good.
Drink of water. Drink of water works.
I'll do that for you guys.
Get an Uber.
Perfect. Thank you. Get an Uber.
You might get an Uber both ways. That'll cost me more than it cost the amount that Mark complained about when we were in Atlantic City.
This is an inside joke.
Well, I mean,
scrap that. But
yeah, just get a different Uber app. Get an X. Get an Uber X.
Also,
I don't even know what that means.
We'll teach you.
Uber. What's an Uber X? Like I know Uber Premium and Uber SUV. Yeah, like all I know is Uber, the black one. I don't know nothing about it. You guys are talking about a different language.
You had a setting on Uber that I've never even
for the
seen.
SUV.
Yeah, Cam.
Yeah,
Cam. AJ has Uber Piggyback, where they piggyback you from wherever you are. He's got some special settings on there that I've never seen.
What do you mean?
Got the
okay,
extra
let me look.
VIP.
I'm gonna look right now. So on my Uber, I have black. Don't you use black?
Nobody uses
No,
that.
I use black every single time.
Me too. XL, Uber XL, and Uber Black. AJ, what are these guys doing?
And then
XL's fine, but
okay.
I don't want no minivan pulling up. I ain't riding in no minivan.
Uber Black is
AJ uses Uber Rickshaw. Some dude just dragging.
In Thailand, I was using Uber TikTok.
Taxi.
Yep.
I was using Uber TikTok, tuk-tuk. But I mean, black is. I don't know, man. I don't know what's wrong with y'all, but
As riveting as this conversation is, I also just wanted to add one other thing before we charge. We're over 30 million views on YouTube.
Let's go.
That's cool.
Over how many?
30 million.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So just wanted to point some stats out to just like take 1 second. Thank you. To take 1 second and say,
cool. On yet.
Coming soon. Actually, that is coming soon. There will be an announcement about that next week.
We better get him on for that.
Don't say anything yet,
but
we will tell you soon. We will tell you soon. Okay, let's charge.
Charging the mound.
670 the scores. Bruce Levine reporting Alex Bregman could be a fit for the Chicago Cubs if he shifts his focus to a shorter-term deal as his free agency continues. And to that end, the Cubs have had casual conversations with Scott Boras about that possibility. I mean, yes. If that lines up, AJ, yes.
I don't know why it wouldn't.
That would be awesome. Well, it wouldn't if Bregman doesn't want to do a shorter deal.
What's the guy's name that you were so worried about playing third base?
Matt Shaw. Well, that's for our second
Alex
later.
Bregman or Matt Shaw? Alex Bregman. Thank you. I don't even know who Matt Shaw, if he's good or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll take Alex Bregman. He's won World Series. He's put up numbers in the big leagues. He plays a solid third base. He knows what he's doing. He's been a good in-the-room guy. I mean, sign me up, Cubs, for a short-term deal. And you give, what's his name again? Matt Shaw?
Matt Shaw.
Longer time in the minor leagues to get ready.
Mm-hmm.
Who?
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be thrilled with that. Hey,
come on, don't give me no Matt Shaw or Alex Bregman. Come on.
Bregman at third, Swanson at short, Horner at second. I mean, Bush at first, okay, but now we're talking. That would be a nice-looking infield.
Absolutely. And then, again, we talk about the thing that there is no stat for is his character, right? His will to win, his competitive nature. I think when you bring that in and you add that with the Inhaps, the Dansby Swansons, the Kyle Tucker, his former teammate as well, and Suzaki, I think now you really have a formidable starting 9, right? Some guys that you can trust, that you can throw out there every day. And I think also from another standpoint, it's starting to look like Alex Bregman is going to have to settle for a shorter-term deal and go out and prove himself for, I don't know if it'll be 1 year or 2 years. So this could be a great fit. And I think a place like Chicago would give him the energy. It's a fun place to play. They're going to get behind him, and they're going to like, what they have on the field when they get a third baseman like Alex Bregman.
So the Cubs are the only team? I mean, Bruce Levine's
No.
man.
Bruce is a Cubs guy.
That's what I mean. Bruce Levine's sitting there on 670 the radio, and he's saying, oh, he'd be a great fit at well, of course. There's a lot of teams that would sign up for a multiple-time All-Star, multiple World Series champion. If he's going to take a 2 or 3 year deal, to me, I think there's going to be a lot more people jumping into the kiddie pool, especially when he gets that 1 year opt-out.
Hey, Kratzy, don't you think that? I think Bruce made the comment as he's like reading the room. The waters are looking like that's what it's going to have to be, because the number that they threw out, now we don't know if it's true or not, but clearly the number is pretty high. Nobody seems to want to give Alex Bregman that type of deal. But I think there is a world where he could get a shorter-term deal, and he has to go prove himself. So I think Bruce was coming from a place of, hey, this is just how it's been looking thus far.
So does that mean the Cubs want to win? I don't think the Cubs really care about winning. I think the players do. I think
question. Absolutely.
Council does. I don't think ownership, front office, and where it takes to make these moves, I don't think they do care.
I think they want him if they can get him at the right price.
So does everyone else.
Well, do you think the Tigers are showing a stronger commitment? They made the playoffs. They tanked for years. They finally were pretty good. They haven't done that much.
At 2 or 3 years? At 2 or 3 years?
I understand, but I'm saying now if Bregman's between the Tigers and the Cubs, I'm going to the Cubs all day, baby. Especially if I have opt-outs in my deal, that's a better ballpark for me. Cubs, please.
Absolutely.
Oh, I know the ballpark's not great for righties, right? But
the Central is I like this. I'm looking at the Central alone. I'm looking at where do I think I would have a better offensive year, and I think it would be in the NL Central. That's just my opinion. And again, Kratzy, don't get your panties in a wad. This is a Cubs guy speaking on the Cubs. What you're bringing up is just a totally different conversation. Absolutely, other teams would take a 2 to 3 year deal, but Bruce Levine is a Cubs guy, and he's speaking on the Cubs. So just, hey, it's okay. I don't know if you didn't have your breakfast this morning or what, but it's not that big a deal. I had like
3 breakfasts. I had 3 breakfasts, and I want everybody to raise their hand. If we go back to the 4 box, who chooses the Tigers? Don't forget, it's AJ Hinch that he's going to play for, a team that did make the playoffs. The Cubs, yeah, they got Tucker, but are they a playoff contending team right now? Who chooses the Tigers over the Cubs?
I think the Tigers over the Cubs. I'm going Cubs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so split.
2-2 split. That's cool.
I choose Satan's Army over the Cubs. Just saying.
Right. This isn't fair. This is rigged.
That wasn't fair.
That wasn't fair. Yeah, I'm actually.
I would choose the Bad News Bears over the Cubs.
Right. I'm actually legit.
So you choose the White Sox then? That's what you mean? You mean
that's fine? I definitely would choose the White Sox
because they're the Bad News Bears. I don't even know if they're that good.
No, that's
Let me
the
bring
Marlins.
this up. So AJ, in my mind, Alex Bregman said no to the Astros because he thought he was going to get more from teams like the Tigers and the Red Sox. Those were teams that were talked about all off season. They're proving to play a little cheaper and have a stare down with him. It wasn't the right teams to have involved. Like if you're Juan Soto, you want the Mets, the Yankees, the Blue Jays. He's got the Red Sox and the Tigers fighting, and neither of those groups are going to play big ball.
Because the Tigers still have Javi Baez, ex-Cub syndrome.
Yep.
And the Red Sox are hoping they get Arenado, I guess, but they still have Devers, so it's not like he's a great fit on the Red Sox.
No, but
so he has no fits. It's like the Pete Alonso thing. Where's the fit? Well, the fit was in Houston. They went out and got Esau Paredes because they were like, well, Bregman wants too much. We can get this guy, and we can bring in
Christian Walker,
first baseman for the Diamondbacks.
Christian Walker.
On his name, Christian Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we can bring those 2 guys in for cheaper than what we can get Alex Bregman to come back for. Where's the fit?
But here's my thing.
Excuse me.
So
Sorry.
I think he's going to be allergic to Detroit if they were playing ball more in the 3-4 year deal. He's going to say, screw that, then I'm going to the Cubs. Like, you don't deserve me if you were trying to drive down my value and you really hurt my market. I thought you guys were going to play bigger ball. That is a thing, right? If it comes down to equal offers, Cam, from the Tigers and the Cubs, he is definitely going to Chicago. I'm telling you, players hold grudges like that over free agency. He thought that the Tigers were going to give a more serious offer, and clearly at this point, they're not playing ball where he wants them to. Cam, agree?
We're sharing a brainwave. That's exactly what I believe. 100%. And again, I still believe as an offensive player that again, I think the NL Central is more conducive to his game. I really do. I think that matters. If you're going to go on a shorter term deal, I would much rather go play in the NL Central than the AL Central.
Let me put a scenario out there for you, AJ. If you were a free agent, okay? You forget about the teams and allegiances there. You told a team that gave you a nice offer that you had been with, no, I'm going to get better offers elsewhere. One of those teams that you thought it would be is now suddenly playing cheap with you. Another team comes in because you had to lower your years. Are you going to go to that team that was playing cheap with you if they have the same offer as the new team coming through? Or are you going to say, stick it?
Why does it matter? If it's the same amount of money, then it comes down to personal preference. He knows AJ Hinch. He probably knows where he's at. I mean, it's not if you're saying the offers are the same amount, then it comes down to where I feel more comfortable. If he feels more comfortable in Detroit with Hinch, then he goes there. But if he doesn't, he likes Counsell and the Cubs better, he goes there. I mean, if everything is equal, then you just choose on where you feel more comfortable, where you think you have a better shot at. That's
Kyle Tucker, Craig Counsell. Which offense really do you think is better heading into this season?
Sasaki, Ian Happ, Kyle Tucker, Dansby Swanson, Suzuki. Like, I think that's a much more formalized. Listen, I love what the Tigers did, but I think it was a gift and a curse. I think there's also a scenario where the Tigers could be thinking, man, I like what we did last year. We have a manager who is as great as AJ Hinch. We could go the Tampa Bay Rays route and not pay guys and just win with the guys that we bring through our system. They're starting to draft a lot better as well. They have some prospects coming. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but like Scott said, I just don't see them spending the money that Alex Bregman wants. So I think there's a scenario where they think, hey, if we put the right pieces, to the puzzle together with AJ Hinch, the way he can maneuver, platoon, have guys ready. He's the best communicator in the game as far as having guys understand what their role's gonna be. I can see the Tigers being like, well, hey, this is the best we could do. And again, I'm with Scott. I think for me, I would take that a little personal. AJ Hinch isn't signing the check.
Yeah, okay, so let's do one more or two more polls. Ready? Let's do this one first. Which team will have a better lineup that you'd feel more comfortable plugging into, especially if you had to go prove it again to hit free agency? Cubs or Tigers? Raise your hand if you think the Cubs have a better lineup right now with the Tucker addition heading into next season. Cubs or Tigers? Okay, so that helps. Which team do you think has a better chance of making the playoffs? Cubs or Tigers? Raise your hand if you think the Cubs have a better chance with their current roster versus the Tigers' current roster. I still think the Cubs have a better chance. No?
I always say that because the Tigers were the hottest team in baseball second half. Let's not forget, it's not like they play consistent baseball throughout the season. I'm a Tiger guy. They got extremely hot. That does not happen year in and year out. And now, again, they could be turning the corner. I do think they're getting better. I don't think it was a fluke. But to play that type of baseball, I mean, sometimes we've seen some of the worst teams some last place teams play great baseball second half. So, again, I have to see it again. I have to see, some of these guys do it again before I believe that that's the right spot. Especially, too, as far as protection in the lineup, absolutely it would be the Cubs for me.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the Central right now? AJ, who do you like?
I mean, the AL Central is always open for business.
NL Central.
NL Central.
Still
the Brewers are kind of there. I think the Reds are going to be better this year. I think the Brewers will be okay. I think if Woodruff comes back, I think the Brewers are still a force in that division. The Cubs are going to be what they were last year. They're going to be around.
You don't think they're better with Tucker?
Yeah, I mean, but they lost Bellinger. They brought in Tucker.
I think that's a big upgrade.
Tucker's
no?
way better.
Dude, what,
If he stays healthy. If he
He's
stays
been healthy his
healthy.
whole
Come
career
on, bro.
besides last year.
Like, literally,
I
come
mean,
on, bro.
again, if ifs and buts.
I love
candies
Cody
and nuts.
Bellinger, but Cody Bellinger is not Kyle Tucker, bro. Stop.
Not
it.
even close.
Okay, but I'm just saying. And then the pitching staff is what the pitching staff is. We'll see.
They need bullpen.
They need a bullpen.
We're going to talk about that
But
later.
I think they're
They need
around
more
right
bullpen
now.
help.
They're around the same team they were last year.
Mhm.
Right? The Cardinals are going to be worse probably this year. The Pirates are going to be the same old Pirates.
Yep.
I think the AL Central, the Twins didn't do anything. We're going to talk to Aaron Gleeman. They didn't do anything. The Guardians
Got worse, maybe.
they lost Naylor and brought in Carlos Santana. Okay.
Traded Jimenez.
Traded Andres Gimenez. They had Bieber back. Is he healthy?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Clase is going to have the year he had last year. I mean, that was a once-in-a-lifetime kind of year. Right? I mean, who else? The Royals are going to be about the same. I mean, the Royals haven't done anything this offseason.
They got Jonathan India.
Okay, but they lost one of their
Waka.
starters in Singer.
Yep.
Right? And then, I mean, the White Sox are going to be, what, the same as they were? They got to be better.
They're going to be a little
Right?
better.
But, I mean, I think the AL Central is the path for the Tigers. If Bregman goes there, I think it's an easier path for him to get the postseason.
Okay.
Because I think the NL Central is more muddled, and I think all the teams are kind of same amount of crappy.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? There's no one in there.
I do agree. 100%.
So better pathway
again,
to win the division in your mind.
Yes. But again, what the Tigers did for me, they didn't do it before. It's hard to repeat that type of production in the big leagues from guys who we haven't seen do it consistently. So I have to see it before I go and say there's now the team to beat because of last year. Teams make runs.
Yep.
So the Cubs.
All right,
So you want consistency? Yeah. Last thing, Cubs consistently don't care about putting a winning team on the field, and they don't make the playoffs. There's your consistency. So if I'm Bregman,
which roster
I'm going
would you take? Which roster would you take?
I think you guys are off base.
Which roster would you rather be on? If I'm Alex Bregman, which roster would you rather? You would rather be on a Tigers roster? Who's like it matters. Protection matters. I love Riley Green. Who's hitting behind him? Like I'm being serious. Like who would you rather hitting behind you? Pick a guy.
Cubs have a
Kyle
better
Tucker.
Lineup.
You know,
Cubs
like
have a better lineup, 100%.
Thank you.
Overall roster, though, Tigers.
Also, I hear you, Kratz, but I feel like you're giving way too much credit to Detroit. Okay. Detroit fans have been waiting for a minute. They got Gleyber Torres. There's your lineup. Everything else is. Did I miss anything? Have they done anything else?
No.
Okay. So
Trey Sweeney's got to prove it again. Kerry Carpenter. And what we know of AJ Hinch, he's probably going to be in a platoon role. Like, let's just say the way AJ manages it is like he might get some at-bats against lefties from time to time, but he's still probably going to be in a role where it's predominantly righties he's facing. I love Riley Green. I don't know what Meadows is. Offensively, I don't know what Meadows is going to be, so they could be waiting on Max Clark. There's question marks for me still. Behind the plate, I love Jake Rogers, but listen, they're question marks. I love what they've done. AJ Hinch did a hell of a job maneuvering pieces and getting guys to play, their best baseball. But there's just some guys that just got to show me again before I just go say that's the place for Alex Bregman.
Okay, fine. All right, let's get to the next rumor while we have a moment. The latest on Pete Alonso from Andy Martino from SNY said the Mets are holding the line with Pete. Steve Cohen fully supports David Stern's approach. Here's the fun part, AJ. Among many alternatives, they have checked in on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Do you think you and me should check in on him too? Because I don't think the Blue Jays are trading him right now. So that sounds like a really cute little public push to say.
That's a public where just trying to put
rude.
pressure on Pete.
Isn't that disrespectful?
Facts.
To float that out there, I think that's disrespectful. We all know he's not being traded right now. The Blue Jays are not trading him this second. That's rude. That's disrespectful. Agree or no? If you were at Pete right now, and that's the latest,
it's like arbitration. It's like arbitration. Arbitration. You think the team loves you. You had a good year, and you go into arbitration. They tell you how bad you really are. So I just think it's more of a business tactic, a negotiation tactic, and again, unfortunately, which it bothers the hell out of me when you look at Pete's, his accomplishments thus far. He's still younger than a guy like Christian Walker. Even in a down year, it's better than most first basemen in our league. it's mind blowing that he can't get what I think he deserves. Now I don't know what he's looking for, but I feel like you could give Pete he should get a fair deal, but we don't know what these guys want. So I don't know if it's disrespectful or just one of those things where they know he's in a situation where they can do this.
Thoughts? If you were Pete, is it necessary
negotiating?
to say that?
It's not, but it's also not going to happen. So you're also realistic about it. That's it.
Right.
You would just laugh at it
Because they have to make other arrangements if Pete doesn't come back. The Braves did this to Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman had won a World Series. Freddie Freeman won an MVP, and guess what they did?
Traded.
Oh, Freddie, you don't want to come back here? We're going to trade for Matt Olson and sign him to a whatever long-term deal, right? Freddie had to go find a place. I mean, this happens, but here's the thing: the Mets have to make arrangements if he doesn't come back. That's it.
But who is that arrangement? It's not Vladdy.
It's not Vladdy, but this is just the media trying to stir something up that's not there.
Do you know who the arrangement is? I'll tell you who it is.
Vientos?
Mark Vientos, for sure. I'm telling you. Kratz usually is the one to vouch for me. Kratz, vouch for me. I've been talking about this for 1 full year now. David Stearns values defense more than previous GMs with the Mets. He wants Vientos ultimately at first. Have I not been talking about that for a long time?
He wants the best team out on the field. He thinks Mark
understand.
Vientos and Pete Alonso in the same lineup is a really good team, and it's better than Mark Vientos at first base and then hope we fill in something at third. Because they're not just going to all of a sudden shift and go Bregman 6 years. They're clearly not wanting to go over a certain amount of years. So, yes, does he want him there? Does he want him off of third? Yes, but I think Vientos can improve. Is he the worst? He's close, but I think they would want both of them in the lineup.
Okay, we got a break because we got Triston McKenzie waiting for us. But also they have Brett Beatty and Ronnie Mauricio. I know they're still prospects, but the Mets do want to give those guys a chance eventually. Anyway, let's step aside for a quick few minutes on television, and then we'll come back with Triston McKenzie of the Cleveland Guardians. All right, we're back. So Mike said they've been on record saying they're not moving Vientos to first base. Well, I need to see that record, and also it's just not true. It's not true. I'm telling you, it's not true. If Pete doesn't come back, they don't bring anyone else over. They will move him to first base.
Then who plays third? Beatty?
They want Beatty and Mauricio. They want to give those two guys a shot. They're two of their better prospects. I know Beatty hasn't hit yet, but they want to give him a shot. They will try to do that, I'm telling you. And then if there's a problem, they'll trade for a third baseman at the deadline.
And how was Beatty at third? How was his defense?
Better than
Vientos.
Vientos.
He was seen as the guy over Vientos. They were saying Vientos was going to be a liability, too many strikeouts, and they gave Beatty, I think even in last year, they gave Beatty the opportunity right away. And I think that came from Mauricio got hurt in, I think it was in winter ball or just in the offseason last year. Early in the offseason.
And Luis Acuna, what are their plans with Acuna?
Exactly. And do you know who their top prospect is, which you'll be able to see a nice video on soon on Baseball America's YouTube channel? Jet Williams. He can play center, but there's a pretty good chance that he'll play the infield as well. So they've got infielders. Just throwing that out there. I know we're talking prospects, but I'm also it's one of the few teams that I can go off some pretty decent knowledge. Like, there are conversations internally about what they're doing, and they're not too concerned. This is why they feel like they have leverage. They're like, meh, worst that happens, we've got a lot of prospects we like. We don't really know where to play them right now. Whether it's right or wrong, that's not uncommon. We're just not used to big market teams doing that, right?
Yeah.
The small market teams do that every second they can. They say, oh, he's gone. We'll fill him with someone else.
Yeah, 100%.
So just something to keep in mind. All right, we're back in a minute. Let's see if I can get to one more question quick, but probably not. Nah. Back in a minute. Here we go. Back with Triston McKenzie of the Cleveland Guardians joining us right now on FT. Triston, great to have you on, man. How's the offseason going?
So far, so good. Excited to get some baseball going here. It's starting to pick up down here in South Florida, and, guys get antsy.
Are you itching to pitch this year more than ever before, just based on obviously some injuries and obviously you've talked about like not feeling yourself, but now you, I think, have had a full normal offseason and you can get cranking in spring training?
Yeah, big time. Especially just like feeling like I was on the sidelines a little bit for what a good team we had last year, playing in the ALCS, playing against a good Yankees team, and giving us a chance to really win. Just wanting to go out there and not even prove myself, but just put my best foot forward and help the team.
Yo, Triston, I think we're to a point where I think you've proven what you can do when you're healthy. And I wanted to touch on what you just spoke on. As you sat back and watched your Guardian teammates, really, push the Yankees to the limit, how much were you sitting there thinking, man, a Triston McKenzie and a Shane Bieber, who knows what we could have done, and how has that really motivated you to really get yourself right? Because with Stephen Vogt, you guys have a core group that even when the media doesn't believe in you guys always seem to find a way.
Yeah. I think that was on everybody's mind, my mind, Bieber's mind, even some of the fans just wondering what the team could have looked like if I had been the best version of myself, or if we had Bieber out there being the best version of himself, how much further the team could have gotten. And I think that's the goal this year is really just put our best foot forward and be the best version of the Guardians that we can, knowing that we have a leader like Stephen Vogt and knowing the presence that we have in the clubhouse with a guy like Jose Ramirez.
What were you doing during the playoffs? Where were you at? Did they let you on the bench? Did they keep you in AZ?
They didn't let me on the bench, but I do have some videos in the ballpark, especially when we had like those David Fry. I was at the stadium right before the John Kenzie Noel home run, the pinch hit home run, and the David Fry home run. But just wanting to be a part of that energy, that environment in Cleveland, and just knowing what it means for the fans to even be in that situation, and knowing what it meant for the boys. Just trying to be out there and support as much as I could.
So where were you? Were you in the stands? They put you up in the suite? Because we talk all the time about how like teams don't necessarily let every injured player like even in the city. They're just kind of like, go do your own thing.
Yeah, I was lower bowl, so I was in the mix of it.
Okay, did you have to pay for your tickets, or did they give you your tickets?
No, I didn't have to pay for my tickets. I know a couple guys let me in.
Hey, I'm asking because was that Scott? Tell me if I'm wrong. I think that was Zach Wheeler that had to pay for his tickets.
Correct. It was Zach Wheeler with the Mets old ownership group. Okay, the one that sold, and they were telling guys that they had to pay to go, so guys weren't going to playoff games if they were hurt. And Wheeler said last playoffs, like in 2024, that he still remembered it and he was going to shove it in their face, even though it was an old group. So obviously it got some pickup on our show. So yeah, you could be thankful that things have been cleaned up. I mean, your org's done it, but some teams clearly weren't letting their guys in, which is, in my opinion, a little weird.
Yeah, I think that's kind of weird. You want your guys to be there to support your guys. Minor league, major league, injured, healthy. Everybody's a part of the team, a part of the organization, and everybody's got that same drive to win. So we're all in it, regardless of if we're on the field or not.
Listen, like you need to understand, I was with the organization for 1 year. What you have in Cleveland is awesome. They treat people so well. So once you go to a new organization, just remember that I said that. But I also want to ask you if you remember what I said to you when I caught you your first bullpen of the year. Do you remember me catching you the first bullpen of the year?
I remember you catching me. I don't remember exactly what you said.
You were, I bet, so 17. What were you, 19 years old, I think?
19 or 20, somewhere around there.
Okay, and they said, hey, we want you to catch, this prospect kid. And I was like, well, where is he? He's like, oh, he's standing behind that fungo over there. And I was like, okay. And you stepped up. And normally bullpens, for fans who don't understand, AJ never caught bullpens. Guys kind of like the first one before camp even starts, guys are just kind of, just not lobbing it in there, but working it. First pitch you threw was like 98 to 100. And I threw the ball back and I go, hey, way way to take your time. Just ease into it. And every pitch after that was just bow, bow. And I will never forget that until the concussions catch up to me. But your arm at 19 years old was just electric. And I remember telling you, wow, like you're going to be good one day. And you go, thank you, sir. So I realized how old I was because you were like 17 years younger than me.
Oh, I'll be sure not to call you sir again.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Hey, Kratzy, that arm got me cut from Cubs camp in 2021. He blew my doors off. I want to talk.
I threw you a nasty slider. I remember that.
You remember that, Doc? I'm like, bro, come on, man. I'm supposed to get like the brother on brother fastball. Like, and I think you gave me one that I swung through it. It was in the mid. I think you was like, all right, I gotta dirty you up. But it's okay. I get it, man. Young buck, you doing your thing.
It's a timing thing. It's a timing thing. That was what, 19?
Yeah. That was good stuff.
See, I was trying to make the team then.
Yeah, you was hungry, and I'm trying to ease my way into it. No excuses. But I want to touch on what Kratzy said, talking about how you guys have something special in Cleveland, right? Each and every year, prognosticators, we try to figure out a way to put you guys, somewhere in the middle because you guys don't make a lot of moves. Here you guys are making moves, bringing back Carlos Santana, who is a veteran leader. You guys brought back some arms. We know what you guys have been able to do with arms. But can you talk about Stephen Vogt? Can you talk about the clubhouse? Like, what makes it so special where you guys seem to always be pulling the rope in the right direction? I mean, I know you guys play chess. I mean, what is it, chess club? Like, what is it?
I will say that our clubhouse is really tight knit. If it's not chess, we're playing cards. If it's not cards, we're in there listening to music together, or we're just, talking smack, doing stuff that a normal team would do. And I think at the head of that is Vogt. I think just having him around and knowing what he means to our clubhouse in terms of just how he carries himself, the message that he provides to us in terms of just being a pro, and someone that's been in the league and now is transitioning into coaching, but just giving us that example of what it looks like from the top, how we go about our business, how we communicate with each other, and what that looks like on a daily basis. I think we bring that into our games. You see that in our gameplay, and you see it from series to series, and you see it from the beginning of the year to the end of the year.
Who talks the most smack?
Oh, so Naylor's not here anymore. Naylor's up there. Jose, if you catch him on a good and or bad day, you might hear it.
So which is it? Which do you want to catch him on? You want to catch him on a good day or a bad day, like where he's happy, 3 for 4, and he's just all over everybody, or when he's pissed off and he just knocked Tim Anderson out, is he just going to get all over everybody even worse?
I would prefer to catch Jose on a good day, because that's when you're getting bubbly Jose. That's when you usually get the quotes. You get the Freddie Freeman, you're the best. After me, you might get a bubbly Jose who's very much talking to the other team, talking to us, just kind of spreading that good love everywhere,
All right, someone's got to do it. That's better off than me with shoes. I don't have.
Yes, yeah. I was gonna say, listen, and I feel like I watched you put that on. You know what I'm saying? I watched you put it on, but I know that's not it. I'm impressed, but I know that's not it. That's just like one room of shoes for you, right?
This is, we got some shoes on the floor sitting over here, and most of the shoes are in my closet in my room. This is just like my standouts. I got my Mummy Dunks right here. These are like the shoes that I try not to wear on like a regular basis. These are like my showcase shoes. All my other shoes I got spread out throughout the house.
So you or Jose, I know Jose's making the most money, but I watch you put it on. I know you're a fashion guy. I'm just curious, who would you say is the best dressed on the team? Because I know Jose would have something to say about that.
Obviously I'm going to say myself. Jose be putting that on. Outside of that, everybody's got a little bit of drip, but Jose's top of the line. He'll pull up in a full fit, and it could be just that he was feeling nice that day. He might have put on a watch. He might have put on some chains with it. But Jose definitely, he's got that swag.
Hey, so I also want to go. Yeah.
Wait, Cam, what's the distance here? Can we pick out the freshest pair right now, or the one that you're proud of?
Favorite pair, what? Yeah.
You're right here.
Right now. Let Let me go grab them for you. I'm gonna
Yeah,
grab the
go grab.
mummies because the mummies are my favorite.
Ooh, my favorite. Oh, are those the shatter backboards?
No, that's the shatter backward threes. It's the patent leather ones. But
Yeah.
these they hold a special place in my heart. We got a little glow in the dark on the bottom. I worn them a couple times, but usually if I show up in this office here late at night after they've been sitting or I had the light on, you see like the eyes will glow and the heel will glow. These are my babies.
Those are crazy.
I got the extra
No, I
laces
want
in there.
those.
I might switch them to the neon green at some point. But these are my babies. I like these. I got some other ones with some sentimental value, but I think from just like a drip standpoint, the mummies are definitely up there.
Hey, so back to baseball. While I have you, tell me a healthy Triston McKenzie, a healthy Shane Bieber. What's the outlook for the team this year? What do you guys want to do in the division? What do you want to do? I know being healthy is one, and two. What have you learned about yourself through this time off, through this rehab, stint? Like, what have you learned about Triston McKenzie?
Yeah. I think ideally, our team goal is to win the division every year. We want to give ourselves a berth in the playoffs. We want to do that by showing what we can do against the guys that we're going to play on a most regular basis, who are our stiffest competition for us. And on top of that, I think our goal is to really just go out there and win. I think, in my mind, a healthy Triston McKenzie, what I've learned through the rehab process is really just honing in on what makes me good, is being able to go out there and throw strikes, being able to go out there and eat innings, and being able to go out there and be a competitor that my teammates can rely on day in and day out.
Hey, I want to ask you one question. I'm sorry, Kratz. I want to ask you one last question as you touch on that. And I just have to ask, every hitter has a favorite ballpark. Every hitter has a favorite team. Who's your favorite team to pitch against? I just want to know. I have an idea. I'm just curious. I want to hear it.
I would probably say the Tigers.
Okay. I thought it was going to be them or the White Sox. I wanted you to say White Sox for AJ. So, because your numbers against the White Sox are kind of stupid.
So I will say I enjoy facing the White Sox just because as an org, that we got like this little rivalry thing going on. It might be just an AL Central thing. I love pitching against the White Sox, but for whatever reason, anytime we're in Detroit and I'm throwing in Comerica, I'm throwing good.
I love it.
I like that. Anything to get the interdivision. But you said you want to eat innings, and that was actually going to be my question. You watched where Cleveland had success. You watched the path that my buddy Stephen Vogt wore out to the mound. My guy was just quick hook. And I get it. He had to have the quick hook because, one, he had the best bullpen possibly in history based on numbers. Two, some of the dudes that he was coming back with, with Alex Cobb and Matthew Boyd, they were coming off an injury, so he was kind of helping them. You might want to eat innings, and that's one of your top three things that you said you need to do. Are they going to let you? Is Cleveland going to let? Because Cleveland talks to all their players a lot and tells them what they need from them. But are they going to actually let you? And if they come out in the fourth inning and you got 8 punchies, no runs, and are you going to tell Voter, I got this.
I think if it comes down to that, there's probably a question that I'll have with Voter behind closed doors. I would never want to show him up in that regard. Obviously, whenever they're making moves for a reason. You said it earlier. We have possibly the best bullpen in history up to a point. So knowing that I have guys that I can rely on in the bullpen and trusting them, and also trusting my coaching staff and their decision making. But at the end of the day, I'm a competitor. I want to go out there and be the best version of me. And in my mind, I'm going to go out there and try and throw 9 every inning or every game that I go out there. If they pull me at 4, then so be it. I may express my displeasure with that after, but I'm going to go out there and try and do that regardless.
Triston, you brought up the White Sox. Where were you during the TA Jose Ramirez fight?
I was on the IL, but I was in the dugout. I don't even know if I was supposed to be on the field, but I was on the field shortly after.
Okay. So you should have been suspended.
That's the kind of team that I like, AJ. We like guys who are willing to take a game or two. Yeah, get out there, man. I don't want to hear anything about the suspend. Nah, get out there with your boys. Get in the fight. I love it.
If you watch the video,
AJ would have been the first person out there.
If you watch the video, I'm the first one to Jose, trying to pull him away from everything, calm it down. I'm
Hey,
towards the TA.
a little advice. We're going to give you a little veteran advice. If it ever happens again, hopefully it doesn't, don't ever grab your guy, okay? Grab one of their guys. You never grab your guy. Go grab another guy from the other team. Just a little veteran advice. I was told that. I was told that when I was young. We got into it. The Marlins, we had a big brawl. They said, "Hey, man, what are you doing? You go grab me, and somebody hits me, then what we got?" So always go grab one of their guys. Just a little veteran tip. I'm just saying. It made sense to me. It made sense.
It makes sense, but I feel like for optics, if they catch me on camera grabbing one of the White Sox, then I'm instigating. I'm already not supposed to be on the field. It could be bad.
Too late. It's already too late, man. It's already too late.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right, Cam, you got a last one.
No, that was it for me. I just gave that look. That was my little advice.
You got to ask about the camp. You're the one who told us about it.
We do. We do. We want to talk about your camp. Sold out, right? And I think it's great what you're doing for the community. You're adding a little incentive base. Come out, get some lessons, but also give back to the community. Touch on that for us real quick before we let you go.
Yeah. I mean, my camp is actually this upcoming Saturday. I'm excited for it. We got actually more than we were supposed to let in. We got like 153 kids. But really just trying to give back to the community that raised me to love the game and allowed me to play the game at a high level and just kind of showing the kids a good time. I got some big leaguers coming out. I got Jesus Luzardo coming out. I got Zach Geloff coming out. I got a bunch of coaches that are willing to come out here and spend time on their Saturday to give back to these kids, teach them a game of baseball the right way, and just try and get a positive frame around it so that we can just grow the game. So I'm excited for it, just being able to get back to these kids.
Dude, that's awesome. Really cool. Well, we'll blast it out on our socials as well, just for people to pay attention to. And obviously, if it's sold out, but just to keep an eye on for next year so you can hopefully expand it even more, man. But thanks for doing that. And thanks for coming on. Great to have you on.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for having me on. Scott, AJ, Kratzy, Cam, I appreciate you guys so much.
Appreciate you too. It's good to see you. And we'll catch you in spring training.
Good luck
all right?
this year.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Tristan. See ya. All right, FT fam, be right back. We got some good segments planned today, including finding fits for teams who presumably have weak spots. All right, so on a day like today, we look at articles and it helps us to come up with ideas for segments. So we've got a few of those coming up when the TV crowd comes back in a couple minutes. But we don't do this often, and I want to throw it out there. For FT fam on YouTube that's watching right now, or if you're listening on the podcast later on, if you have a segment idea, we're here for it. It's hard for me to catch all the comments everywhere. It's easiest if you send us a direct message on Instagram. It's just like email for us, where it's just easy for us to make sure we go through every suggestion. Sometimes people will drop a suggestion like on YouTube. I just can't catch every comment, but just wanted to throw it out there because sometimes fans come up with really cool segment ideas. I actually got one yesterday that I just forwarded to our production team. There's an influencer on Instagram in the baseball world who just came up with a game that's degrees of separation in baseball, where you tie a current player to a former player and see if you can come up with a same teammate. If not,
I win.
You come up, you win?
Win.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's like
it's a good game for you
separation.
guys. Yes, it's a good game. And he made it pretty cool and easy to do. But if you're stuck, you can still come up with a teammate of that player, one of the players, to connect you to the other one, if that makes sense. Like if I got this morning, it was like Juan Pierre and someone else that I couldn't think of a connection, but I knew he played with Judge. Then I put Judge in there. Whatever. You just start to get to another player to link him to the previous one. It might not make that much sense, but I think you guys are going to like it. So I threw it out there. But anyway, the point of this 2 minutes was just tell people that we'll take your suggestions for segments. This is the time period between now and the start of the season when the storylines are a little weaker. So we get a little creative until the rest of the 50 free agents sign. So just throwing it out there. That's all. Taking ideas.
Okay.
That's it. Otherwise, we take articles. If there's an article you want us to slice up, like there was just one the other day about the continued evolution of 6-man rotations. So we might throw that one out there at some point later this week, or maybe we'll save it for Trevor. But anyway, we're going to do a couple of those types of segments. We got one coming up next from Cyrus. So back in 30 seconds. In the Weeds caught this article the other day from Cyrus from The Athletic, joins our show sometimes. MLB Contenders weak spots, the 15 biggest roster holes and what can be done to fill them. He's going off FanGraphs projections for this coming season to split the league into the haves and the have-nots, took the top 15 teams and then the projected spots where they look weakest. Okay, so we're not going to go through all 15. That would take forever, but we had our guys go through the article and pick out one team where they either agree or disagree. AJ, up first.
I went with the Red Sox. I mean, he said the Red Sox need a catcher. They have one. His name's Connor Wong. They got him from the Dodgers, and he was pretty good last year. 13 homers, 280, almost a 2-win player. That's pretty good for a catcher. And they also said they need a shortstop. They have one. His name's Trevor Story, and if he's healthy, he's a great shortstop. So I disagree with this one. I think that the Boston actually needs some relieving help, maybe another starter, but I don't think catcher and shortstop are their biggest needs.
Also, so I'll add to this for you. I went through that portion of the article and what FanGraphs said and then what mentioned. He said if defensive value is of concern to the Sox at the position, perhaps they could go sign Yasmani Grandal to share time with Wong. He's the best framer in free agency, a skill that has hung on even as his bat has aged. I knew this would get him. I read that and I'm just like.
Both the guys did the same thing at the same time, literally. That was awesome.
Do you think Yasmani Grandal makes the Boston Red Sox better right now and he should eat into young Connor Wong's playing time? Help me out. AJ?
No. Simple answer, no.
Why?
Because he's just not that guy anymore.
Okay, thank you.
It might have been at one time, but I mean, the Dodgers got rid of him. The Brewers got rid of him. The White Sox got rid of him. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's not that guy anymore. I mean, if he's going to, I don't know. That's it. He's just not that guy anymore.
Yeah,
Connor Wong needs to play every day.
Wasn't the name I expected to see in there. See, Cam, I knew.
Come on,
get them a little excited. Yeah. No, that's not the name. I know that the catcher market's a little thin, but that wasn't the name.
I mean, if they would have went and got, what was the Higgy? Higashioka? Okay.
Yeah.
I could have seen that one. Like, I could have totally seen that one. But, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Grandal is the answer. I don't know. But I mean, I know this Grandal might frame a lot of pitches, but there's a lot of pitches that go to the backstop too because he doesn't catch them.
Right. Very fair. And the one other part of this, and then we'll go to the next team. So they did trade away Kyle Teal, who could have been part of a shared mix at some point this coming season, but they needed that to get Crochet.
Crochet is a bigger need. They look at Connor Wong and say, he's pretty good. We can get Crochet, who we really need, and see what happens with Kyle Teal.
Yeah. Also, the infield situation still could develop. They still could get a Bregman to play second. They also, I mean, I know that doesn't help shortstop. They also might get Marcelo Meyer at some point this season, who.
But if Trevor Story's healthy, guess what? Trevor Story's playing shortstop.
Yeah. But in fairness, he has not stayed on the field. He played 20-something games last year. So I get it. Okay. Next up. Cam, let's pick one of your teams. So you want to go – let's go KC first, just because we haven't talked about the Royals in a minute.
We haven't, and we talked about them, early in the segment, not making too many moves after last year having an outstanding season, adding some veteran leadership. Bobby Witt was, pretty much unconscious throughout the year. They had some young arms step up and guys like Reagans who showed that he can be a front-of-the-line rotation guy. I think center field, I think there's a guy in Chicago who I think he needs desperately to get out of there to be around some type of winning atmosphere, some type of atmosphere that really is trying to win now. And they also have young pieces around him that will motivate him. And I think Luis Roberts, again, I think his deal is a deal where when you start talking about prospects and then you start looking at what he has been able to do when he is actually healthy on the field, I think his athleticism paired with Bobby Witt would be something dynamic, and I think that would be a great fit for those guys.
Mm-hmm. So Jonathan India, could spend some time out there, or Michael Massey. They could push some guys in the outfield like an MJ Melendez, who's been up and down out there. But overall, I mean, AJ, when you look at KC's outfield in the playoffs last year, you're like, damn, they needed one more bat to really.
That's always the thing with a lot of these.
Yeah, Cleveland too, right? That's how these teams are with an outfielder.
Yeah. A lot of these central teams, though, they need a bat, right? The Tigers, you could say they need a bat, right? The Royals, they needed a bat. The Guardians, they needed another bat. The Twins, they needed another bat. The White Sox, they needed 9 other bats.
Yeah.
Right?
They all could use Anthony Santander.
Yeah, but none of them are going to sign him.
Because he's too expensive?
Yeah, he's too expensive. He's not, but he is.
Right.
I mean, on a one-year deal, I don't understand. If you could get him for a short-term deal with opt-outs, go for it. He's not going to go to KC because he wants to hit homers, and the KC's not the place to hit homers.
True. It would have to be a long-term deal if he's going there.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good call. Kratz, where's your gripe?
He had said about the Phillies needing outfield defense. They have it. Brandon Marsh, his defense went up from the year before because they shifted him to left field. He was playing more center field in 23, and they shifted him to left when the other elite defender, Johan Rojas, who just in the Dominican Republic won the Gold Glove, had no idea they were actually giving that out in the Dominican Republic. But for Winter League, he won the Gold Glove. So you sit there and you go, you have 2 elite defenders. I get it. Nick Castellanos is playing right field. You can always upgrade there, but you're not going to find better defenders who are also giving you that offense. I think you want somebody to play in place of Johan Rojas that will give you offense. I think that's where they got Max Kepler. I think it gives them an opportunity to shift Marsh when they're facing a righty, because Marsh, I think, had 43 or 45 at-bats against lefties. So he's clearly a platoon, but his offense is already there. So I'm not sure what Eno was looking at here, but to me, they need to solidify a position, and they were really close on the Tucker deal, and that would have pushed maybe a little bit more poor defense to left field, because Nick probably would have then gone and played left field unless they traded him in that deal.
This one's getting heavily debated, so I'm curious to see how Kepler does. I think it's either going to really work or not. So the analytics crowd is saying how he hasn't played left field and they don't feel like he's adding that much of a win boost. And I'm like, oh no, that bat in Philadelphia, I think, could play up. And in an offense like that, don't you think if he stays on the field, he might be a really good role player, no pressure situation? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it could work out pretty well for him. And he's a good defender. Kepler's fine.
Yeah, he's
okay. Oh, he hasn't played left field. How do we think Max Kepler's going to do going from right to left field?
Schwarber.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's not the worst outfielder.
I mean, and you got, and again, just
he's not the worst outfielder.
He's going to, and just in the division, he'll be okay. Philly left field, okay. Atlanta left field, okay. Mets left field, okay. It's not like a bunch of room he'll have to roam in that division anyway.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. All right, let's step aside. Good segment. Everyone let us know your thoughts if we missed anything or if you have suggestions. I know some of you in the chat said Astros outfield. We could spend some time on that another day. We've got a little contract talk coming up next. The best bargains in baseball in 2025 based on how much they're getting paid. All right, let's see if we can grab a question or two from that segment just now. Yeah, KT said Astros need an outfield bat. Agreed? I'm going through their outfield right now.
What depends on where you put Alvarez.
Michael.
Chas McCormick, Jake Myers. Right now they have Taylor Trammell as the left fielder. They've got Yordan at DH. They said publicly they want Yordan to DH a lot more this season. He's actually okay. He's not as bad as it seems.
Especially in the short left field. They try to play him in Houston where it's a shorter left field.
Yes. But I think they're worried about his body and just staying on the field.
Who's the
it's
a free agent out there though. they could get.
Outfield, they're still mid-level guys. Let me go through the list real quick if I have time to find it. But and there could be some guys available via trade. I mean, everybody, for their team thinks they're getting Luis Robert. I don't think he's going to get traded. I mean, I actually think Profar would fit well in Houston.
Yeah.
And I think they would like him.
Profar's probably looking to get paid after last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, facts. But that would be a good fit.
Name.
I like the fit. I think that's a great fit.
Who has
Especially
who has a better chance
on base machine? Go ahead.
Who has a better chance of being more consistent, Santander or Profar? Both have had up and down years. Both have, you're getting there like
totally different players. Santander for power, Profar for on base percentage.
So who has better?
I got some other name suggestions for Houston. Santander.
That's a great question.
Profar only did it for a year. I would
go. Yeah, I would definitely think for Houston in that park, that division. I think they would need his bat more than the defense, and I don't think he's that terrible of a defense, and he has a cannon as well.
Mm-hmm. Here, I got a few more names for Houston's outfield because yes, we know that Houston's not getting Santander. Verdugo, Tommy Pham, Grichuk. Like any
all those guys would fit.
I think they'd get a lot of playing time in Houston too.
That's the thing. Like you got to go if you're going to sign a short-term deal, you got to go a place where you're going to get to play, and Houston can offer playing time to a lot of those guys.
Playing time, decent lineup, good team, no state income tax. They're going to get one of those guys if they want them.
I agree.
Yeah. All right.
Santander seems like the right fit. Seems like a great fit.
Great fit. They won't pay for him. Yeah, they won't pay for him.
Bader makes sense.
No, I'm thinking,
yeah. I mean, great. Contract predictions. This is more about bargains and who's on the books, but we like the animation, so we ran it. Let's have some fun. There was a article put out there on Fox Sports about the best bargain contracts in baseball. Rowan Kavner is the name, so good job, Rowan. Here's the top 10 contract bargains for this coming season. You want me to go 1 to 10 or 10 to 1?
I mean, Shohei is one. I mean, $2 million. Come on, we know.
But wait,
it's not even close.
Wait,
it's not even close.
He actually factored in the deferrals into the present day number.
It's still not close. They made so much money off of him that he could make $100 million, and it's still a bargain.
So his present day that he used was 10 years, $460. So he's getting 46 a year.
And they made over $100 million off of him. Just him.
Yeah.
Guess what? It's a bargain.
That's business. What about production? He's also freaking amazing.
You talk about production.
Yeah. Okay. So are we all agreeing that Shohei, number one, even though he's costing $46 million in present day value, is the best bargain in baseball? Kratz, we know you. I mean, you like him. I mean, we all like him, but you had him even over,
I like him more.
The Judges, the Cunyas. Yeah, you like him more. Cam, you good with this?
100%.
Okay.
No question.
All right, so then let's just move on. Let's get to more of a debate, okay? I'll run through 2 through 10, and then each of you point out where someone should be higher or lower. And I can help you with the contract if you need help. Acuna 2, Ozzie Albies 3, Yordan Alvarez 4, Jose Ramirez 5, Bobby Witt Jr. 6, Hunter Green 7, Corbin Carroll 8, Ketel Marte 9. Man, I almost got through without sneezing. It's been hanging. And then Emmanuel Clase 10. All right, it's gone. AJ, best bargain on the board here that should be higher, or maybe someone that should be lower?
I mean, Yordan is the only one. I mean, he's not making a whole lot, but he's a DH basically. Other than that, I can't argue with a lot of these because if Acuna comes back and plays up to his potential, they're stealing money from him.
Mm-hmm.
Albies same way. Jose Ramirez is one of the best players in baseball no one talks about. He's on a club-friendly deal. Bobby Witt signed a nice deal for himself. Corbin Carroll, long-term deal. Now, that's the one you could argue because he had a down year last year and say, all right, is he overpaid? But he's going to bounce back.
But these are the biggest bargains. Like, is somebody
That's what I'm saying, but he's going to bounce back.
Yeah.
Right? For what he did. If you look at his rookie year to what he did last year, like, you've got to say, man. But the rest of them, I mean, Clase had a historic year last year as a reliever. I think these are all fine. I mean, you could mix up the order maybe a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. Who
But
should
I
be
think-
higher?
Jose Ramirez.
Jose?
That's
Jose
easy
Ramirez-
for me. But yeah, I agree with Kratzy. But for me, I just don't. I feel like Ozzie Albies is criminally underappreciated. Like literally 4 of his last 5 seasons, he's played over 148 more games. The dudes, bro, we've got guys about to make more money. We've got guys like Chris Taylor, Jeff McNeil, Nico Horner, Luis Garcia making more. Andres Jimenez. They are not better than Ozzie Albies. Like they're not. And the fact that he's making that, I remember the world of baseball being kind of pissed off when they signed this deal. Now it's he's got to write his name on the paper. But at the end of the day, at the time, I mean that deal is just unreal for the production. We're talking about a 4-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger. I mean, the dude has been more available than he has not. And for that, what he's getting paid, I think is ridiculous. And they still they got 2 club options for $7 million at the back end of it, which is great. Which if I'm the Braves, I'm definitely not going, hey, I'm gonna ride this thing out till he's 30. It's a great, that's the biggest bargain. It's not even close.
In this top 10, I think Jose Ramirez, AJ said it, is very underrated, probably the most underrated player in the game. He's getting MVP votes in 8 of his last 9 seasons. He is the one guy on this top 10 list after you get past Shohei, and not even talking about Shohei here, who has done this for a long time. You have Corbin Carroll up there. He's essentially got 2 seasons. You have Clase, he's been there. I get that. But Bobby Witt's in his 3rd season, full season. Jordan's not, nobody's put in as much time as Jose and continued to do it. And he's still on a contract that he's making just a tick more than $20 million a year. Jose Ramirez almost was 40-40. Minus Shohei, we would have been talking about 40-40 for a long time, and Shohei went 50-50. But I just think Jose is – anytime Jose's on one of these lists, that's really going to be tough for me not to choose him.
All right, one more portion of this conversation. The team that was pointed out with many bargains is not going to surprise many because of the style. The Atlanta Braves and the contracts they have with a number of players. AJ, to me, Atlanta jumps on this early, and they understand that there's going to be some risk. But if you play this game enough, you're going to get so many damn bargains that you can afford to have a miss sometimes. It's okay. You're going to have less misses this way than you are in free agency. You agree?
Well, I mean, the guys they signed, Acuna, all of these, Michael Harris, and Spencer Strider from inside the organization,
Yeah.
they knew. These weren't the Nick Senzel, the guy for the Reds, right, that signed the long-term deal and never really worked out with.
I don't think so.
Wasn't that his name, Kratzy?
No.
Are you thinking of
Kingery?
Yep. No,
Or the Phillies. What was the
Kingery.
Phillies?
You're thinking
Kingery?
Kingery.
Kingery was
Scott
another
Kingery.
one, right? Even
Yeah.
John Singleton, the Astros signed, he didn't work out, right? I mean, Evan Longoria signed a deal with the Rays. He was like the first one to do this, and it worked out great for the Rays, okay? So the thing is, if you know your organization really well, like the Braves seem to do, these guys weren't going to miss. So they went to these guys, and it was smart. The Braves are really smart about this. Now,
yes,
with Albies, Acuna, and Strider jumping on these guys and saying, hey, we'll give you a long – even Matt Olson, what they did, and Austin Riley, right? These guys are locked up too, and Sean Murphy. So they basically have their whole infield locked up for a bunch more years, and Strider. But they're also really good at finding free agent value. Okay, Ronaldo Lopez, boom. Good one that nobody's like, he can't start. He did pretty well. Chris Sale, everyone's like, oh, why would the Braves trade for him? He's making his big old money. He went out and won the Cy Young. They signed him to a deal, though, in spring training.
Before they saw him.
They signed him to 2 extra years before. And now, look, now it's a bargain for what he's making. Okay, I'm sorry. I mean, 2 years,
38 mil for
in
the
a club
next
option.
Or yeah,
so
for
3 years of, 56? Okay,
Cy
and
Young.
he's already won a Cy Young, and he looks healthy again. That to me is just good scouting, good knowing your guys, and then good development with the other guys. So, I mean, this is an organizational win.
Yeah.
And the players are happy too. I don't want to hear from anybody out there that says, oh, they could have got more. Yeah, great, they could have got more, but they also couldn't have gotten more, right? So they took what they were given at a young age. Ozzy Albies going to have all these years, going to be 30 years old, be a free agent again. Acuna's still going to be like 30 when he's a free agent again, right? So they're going to get another one on top of this. So it was smart by the organization to lock these guys up. They want to be Braves. They're proud to be Braves. They're happy with what they're making. Yeah, they wish they could make more, but you know what? If you're Acuna, I got $100 million in the bank. Boom! I'm good for
no
the rest
matter
of my
what
life.
happens.
No matter what, he's already blown out a seat twice.
The thing I think,
go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add this caveat and then go. So, Mookie Betts, everyone knew he was good. Mookie said on our show he would have accepted a deal to the Red Sox if they ever gave him market value for an extension. He was never giving it. They were always undershooting what they should have with him. He said that on our show. And then one other I want to throw out there. How does Vladdy Jr. not get an extension like 3-4 years ago? So we're not even talking about this. Now they offer him an extension way too late. He says, I want to wait to see what Soto gets. He goes, cool. You offered me, what was it, $350 and Soto gets over $750? I'm not $750, but I ain't $350. So props to the Braves for getting it done.
Bobby Witt,
everybody has a
and
price.
the Royals too for Bobby Witt.
Yes.
Jr. Okay, they locked him up, right? Corbin Carroll locked him up. Julio Rodriguez, say what you want, but he locked him up. He's a 13th on this list.
Yep.
Okay, they locked these guys up at a young age, and boom, there they are. I mean, Logan Webb right now on the free agent market would make a ton of money. Okay, so I mean, listen, this is smart of organizations to do this because it's really hard.
But it's deeper than just being smart. What they've done is like to add to this is they've offered young guys extremely fair deals at young ages. Like I couldn't imagine at 22 being offered $70 million or $80 million. Like as a young guy who doesn't know what he's going to be in the big leagues, other than Ozzy Albies deals, I thought like most of those deals were really fair offers to young guys. So that's what they do well. They don't go in and lowball their guys. When they come to those guys, they go to those guys with deals that, hey, Michael Harris, here's $70 million for the next 7. That's hard to turn down when you have had some ups and downs, maybe coming up and through the minor leagues, and you don't even quite believe in yourself like they believe in you. Like they do. That's what they do a really brilliant job of understanding. I think we value our guys maybe even more than they value themselves. And I think that's what makes them a little bit better at this than everybody else here of late.
I just wanted to hit on Sale. I mean, just to put it in perspective, yes, he won the Cy Young. He's making the same contract. He has the same contract, almost identical as Marcus Stroman right now. Marcus Stroman and Chris Sale over the next 2 years, thinking that both club options are going to get picked up. Like it's not even close. And this is where other teams had an opportunity to trade for him. Other teams had an opportunity to see the value, and then they went and extended him before they it's a trust in the full organization. When you sit there and you go, Marcus Stroman might be on the trading block for the Yankees, and they might have to eat his entire contract or most of his contract because it's more of just a meh contract. But you sit there and you have the Cy Young Award winners getting the same amount of money.
That's why it's hard to trade him right now.
And to add to my point, though, that also adds to my point. They offered him a deal, locked him up because, again, I think Chris Sale didn't know what he was going to be. I don't think he went out and was like, I'm going to be the Cy Young this year. I don't believe that. So again, that's where they're so brilliant. You know what? We're gonna offer. You know what? We think that we have a better scouting department than the Boston Red Sox as far as developing our pitchers. We believe we can get Chris Sale back to where he is, but also, guys, let's offer him a really fair deal because we know what we have, right? We know that we do a really good job with pitchers. We're gonna get that guy back, right? Like they do a really good job of offering fair deals where Chris Sale's going, man, I've been through a lot these last few years, haven't been on the field a lot. I mean, I'm 30. I'll be 37 soon. It's a pretty good deal. I'll take it. He didn't know he's going to go out and be a Cy Young type of caliber guy. Like, that's where they're so good and brilliant.
Mm-hmm. And guys like playing down there. I'll say that too. So we got to jump because we got to hit a couple little things that have popped up, some rumors over the last few hours, and then we'll get ready for our conversation with Aaron Gleeman, one of the best in the biz. He covers the Twins. Really enjoy talking to him. Super unique. He had all this crazy equipment that he used to train. So anyway, that's Ichiro. Let's get some stories. You faced him a bunch.
I faced him when he first got here, 2001.
What do you
back
remember?
When the Mariners won all them games.
Were people like, what the hell
Yeah,
is this?
we were like, all right, so when we first played him, you were like, what is going on? And we first faced him, we were on the Metrodome, which was turf, like the old turf, not like the new fancy turf they have now. It was like the old Astro turf that was bouncy as hell. We had to put our shortstop like infield in depth because if he hit like a 3-hopper, he was safe. It was unbelievable. And then when we went to Seattle, it was worse because the grass slowed the ball down. So you had to move you literally had to move like your shortstop way in because he would hit that ball while he was running and slice it. If it took like 3 hops, he was safe. So your shortstop had to come get it on 2 hops to try to throw him out. It was unbelievable. And then you saw him throw. Everyone's seen the throw when he was in Oakland. He throws out Terrence Long at third base. I mean, I got to play with him in 2002 when we went to Japan. And, I don't know what Ohtani's like, but this was the first time Ichi had been back to Japan since he signed with the Mariners. It was unbelievable. I mean, talk about people that wanted to see somebody. And he was great. He spoke English.
Yes.
Better than people thought so he'd play it off, but then in the clubhouse he would actually speak English to you. No, dog, dog. Everything was dog. Dog. Oh, dog. And it was just amazing to watch how he went about it with so many people wanting to see him all the time. And I'll say this, I'll never forget, we were playing the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. This is when Ichiro was a Yankee. Brett Gardner was on first, and there was like 1 out in the ninth, and then it was the bottom of the ninth. And toot my own horn here, Kratz. Gardy tried to steal. I throw him out. And this is when Joe Girardi was the manager, so he's just over there. Right? And I'm like, oh, yeah. So I throw out Gardner, and I look at him, and I'm like, shut the F up. Next pitch, Ichiro hits a home run. I'm like, damn it. Should have just let Gardy be safe because then we could have got him out because we're like, all right, we're going to try a heater in because you could kind of go in on him. But then every once in a while, he'd be like, click. And this was that time where he clicked it, walk-off homer, and I was like, dang it, spoke too soon. Damn. But he was unbelievable.
Friend of the show, Aaron Gleeman, joining us right now on FT. Writes for The Athletic, covers the Twins also all over the free agent scene as they keep track of their big board all off season long. And you can hear him on Gleeman and the Geek, the leading podcast for the Minnesota Twins. Aaron, great to have you on, man. And let's dive into the Twins for a moment first. I know this is going to take you about 20 minutes, but can you break down all of the major league moves by the Twins so far this offseason?
Well, I can tell you that my podcast co-host, John Bonus, went to Australia for a month-long vacation and missed no major league transactions by the Minnesota Twins. So that's been the type of offseason that there's been. There have been a couple of waiver claims, some minor league signings. They traded for a couple of AAA catchers. That's really honestly been it. And I didn't have huge expectations mostly because of the payroll issues for them making moves coming into the offseason. But I certainly expected more than this. And it's been such little effort, really, of any kind. And I know it's more so the ownership doing that than the front office doing that. Their hands are kind of tied. But particularly in this division, which is not that much effort collectively between the 5 teams, it's still disappointing even with some low expectations.
All right, so I got 2 things for you. Number one, our first-class production team wants just like a little tilt down on the camera so we get the full Gleeman experience. Boom, there it is. Beautiful, nice and squared up.
There it all is for you.
You get it all there. Yeah, we got the nice facial hair rolling here in the off season. Okay, and 2 is, because we smashed the ownership. They're going to sell. This is going to be awesome. We can get into that at one point. My question is on the front office. So we haven't seen trade deadline activity because they don't have any money to spend. So I'm like, that, I think, going into it. So can you save a little bit of space so that you can pull off a trade to improve your team at the deadline? Because it is debilitating to do that. Same question for the offseason. having the same exact team from year to year when you weren't a playoff team doesn't make sense. So I'm like, would they have been better off just doing something and taking a risk and subtracting from their major league team to just at least switch it up? It also garners a little more fan excitement. You have something new heading to the season that you can promote.
It is strange really, if you go back, not only now this offseason, but like you said, last trade deadline, and even going back to the previous offseason and it's been almost 18 months really since they've added, I'm pretty sure if my math is right, anybody making more than $5 million to the major league roster. So you're talking about basically 2 seasons worth, going back to when they re-signed Correa essentially. And it is just very strange to go that long providing almost nothing good or bad for your fan base to talk about, discuss, speculate about, and it's just kind of rolling it back. And like you said, it wasn't exactly they finished horribly. They ended up 82-80, so it's not a terrible team, but the sour taste they left at the end of the season because of their collapse makes it all the more frustrating that they haven't done anything. My assumption was coming into this thing that they would try to shed some salary, maybe with a Christian Vasquez trade or a Chris Paddock trade. Those are really 2 guys they're making $7 to $10 million. That would give them a little bit of breathing room. I think they're open to that. I just think there hasn't been much market for those guys, at least if they don't want to eat a bunch of that salary. But what it really does is, you can roll back this team. Nobody's going to be all that excited about that. But they have, and this is far from a perfect roster. I think, first base, corner outfield, DH, right-handed bats. If they could spend even $5, $8, $10 million, even something like they did last offseason with Carlos Santana, I think that would make a big impact. But they're so hamstrung financially that they just have to sit on the sidelines for even the low wattage type of moves.
Aaron, why are they hamstrung? Is it because of the imminent sale of the team? Is that why? Because the Pollads have plenty of money. The Pollads have more. They have all the money in the world. They're not tight on money. They had larger payrolls before. Don't use the TV deal, because I'm tired of hearing the TV deal. The Twins get a huge fan base. They get big numbers. People watch them. People go to the games. People buy Twins jerseys. I've walked around Minneapolis before. There's Twins jerseys everywhere, right? What's the reason behind them not spending? I don't understand. Derek Falvey, I feel bad for him. He's out there. He puts a team on the field that wins their first postseason series in 20 years. And then they're like, oh, you got to cut payroll. The fans are going crazy. Then they look at the divisions. They say, no one else in our division is really doing anything. We could win it again in 25. Oh, but we haven't signed not a bunch, major league free agent this offseason. Why?
I agree. I feel like every time I come on the show, we together combine to rant against Twins ownership. And then I hear from Twins people who are like, yeah, that's not that far off. I think your point that to separate out the front office from ownership, if you're a Twins fan, I think is valuable, because Derek Falvey is going to get the criticism when they don't make moves because he's the public-facing front office boss. But the reality is, if they have a $135 million payroll, let's say, and right now the roster's at 140, what is he supposed to do? You have to subtract in order to add. And so I agree with everything you said. I think it was a massive mistake for them to, as you said, follow up the first successful postseason in 20 years by slashing $30 million in salary, and then to follow that up this offseason and basically make it known that salary is going to stay in the same range when 3 years ago they were at 160. So if they just grew at a normal pace, they might be at 180 right now, which would probably put them middle of the pack. Now they're at 135. They're down with teams that are just not spending. And I think part of the problem and the reason they're so hamstrung from a roster standpoint is that it's not just the slashing of the payroll that hurts, which it does. It's the slashing of the payroll after you allowed Falvey and company to sign $160 million worth of players, including some long-term deals for Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa, Pablo Lopez. Those are all good deals. Those are all, impact players. But if you build up the payroll to 160 and then all of a sudden the next year or the next 2 years, they tell you, oh, actually you need to be at 130. Well, you already have commitments long-term. Correa's making 30-something million a year. You can't undo that. And so that really, it's not so much the payroll limitations itself. It's the payroll limitations coming after they already added so much long-term money to the books.
Just the 1998 to 2003 Twins that we're talking about here, because this sounds awfully familiar when I was playing for the Twins. Oh, we got to cut payroll, and then we get a new stadium. We can have all the payroll we want, except now we got to cut it again. That's it. That's my comment. We can move on. Cam, you can talk about something else. But for me, as someone that came up in the organization and someone that actually cares about the Twins, because there's still a lot of people there that I know, and I know how much they, the Mike Hermans, the Dustin Morrises, a lot of the people behind the scenes that nobody knows, they want to win. And so for me, it's just like they can take this division, but that's it. All right, on to the next.
You set it up perfectly, AJ. With all of that said, so I don't have to touch on it, is this a situation where, because of the spending, when I look at the roster, do they just believe that this roster still can compete? Like I see you still have 3 decent, top of the line starters in that division. You're banking on Royce Lewis and Kyle Larnick and Eddie Julian, I'm guessing. Like, do they still just think that if healthy, Byron Buxton, God willing, he can stay on the field. If healthy, they still feel like they still with this roster can be competitive? Is it just as simple as that as well?
I mean, that's definitely part of it. But they also, I think, thought that last year. And 2/3 of the way through the season, that was looking pretty accurate. And then they just completely collapsed. I don't think this is a great division. I mean, this is really never a great division. I think 85, 88, certainly 90 wins might win this division. And they're probably capable of that. I do think this is a winning team, even with the collapse. They finished with 82 wins last year. Like you said, I mean, the Lopez, Ober, Joe Ryan top 3 is good in the rotation. I think, Duran and Jax is leading a strong bullpen. They do have, Correa, Buxton, Royce Lewis in the lineup, but they're really missing like the complementary pieces that you would add to free agency, 5 million, 8 million, 10 million, the small trades that are kind of fixing up the margins of the roster. And that may seem unimportant compared to those core guys that I just mentioned. But if that's the difference between, another 82 win season and getting to 87, 88, 89 wins, that could be, like we saw last year, the difference between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. And so I think that's part of the frustration. This is not a bad team. This is a pretty good team with a good core, but when you don't supplement that core for going on 18 months now, you fall behind the rest of the pack.
I'll follow with this then. Everything in house. How does the farm system look? Is there, right? You talk about moves via trade. Do they have the prospect wherewithal to go out and move some pieces, or like you said, those little pieces where you can go get a guy that's durable? Right now, they need guys that are durable. Do they have the pieces in their farm system to make that move where anybody will bite and kind of see what they can get via trade?
I mean, they do have a good farm system. Walker Jenkins is probably a top 5, top 10 prospect. They have Emmanuel Rodriguez, who's like a consensus top 25 guy. Brooks Lee is not a prospect technically, but he debuted last year. Luke Keisha. I mean, they have some real, high-end top 100 type of guys. But the problem is, first of all, Minnesota generally over 30 years doesn't trade a whole lot of prospects. And particularly with the payroll situation, you need young, cheap, good guys to be coming up and taking on these roles. And so if anything, I think, yes, they could trade some of those guys to pick up the pieces that I was talking about. But I think the more likely thing is this year, next year, the year after that, they're going to be leaning more heavily. And like AJ said, it's going to be like the days when he was there, where it seemed like every season back in the late 90s, early 2000s, they had 2 or 3 young guys, whether it was a starter or an everyday player, who they were expected to come in, provide, above average production, but as importantly, minimum salaried production. And I think they've sort of gotten back to that, where they're going to have to lean on the farm system and some of those names I mentioned to step up and fill gaps. If it's opening day, maybe not, but mid-season, a guy like Emmanuel Rodriguez is going to be the bat that they add, because they just haven't been able to spend on veteran versions of that player.
All right, so Aaron, let's get crazy for a second. If you were in control of the Twins, but you had the payroll restrictions, what would you do? Give me something crazy that would at least switch things up. The name that I think would be super coveted and be able to get you something different and younger and cheaper for them to even open up other areas is Pablo Lopez. I know it hurts, but I'm like, is there a fit with a team like Baltimore that I think desperately still needs an upper echelon starter to be able to make it work, where they can get a younger starter back, maybe 2, and still another bat to help them? Your thoughts?
I think you're right. I mean, they only really have 3 guys making money. It's Correa, Pablo Lopez, who you just mentioned, and Byron Buxton. They're like making over half the payroll. So it does make sense. I'm sure you could get significant return for Pablo Lopez, but here's the problem. If the Twins are planning to contend, they're not going into a rebuild. I mean, you can't rebuild around Carlos Correa. That would make no sense. if you're not going to rebuild this thing, how are you going to get a big return from a team that wants Pablo Lopez, wants to add an in their prime, number 1, number 2 starter, but is also willing to send you back major league pieces or major league pieces that are going to help you compete? It's a hard, I think, to find a fit. You would, as you said, maybe trade him for a AAA pitcher and then bank on that pitcher making an immediate impact. I mean, to me, the at the baseline, what I expected them to do at this point was, Christian Vasquez is under contract for $10 million. Chris Paddock is under contract for $7.5 million. I thought they would really make an effort to shed as much of that salary as they could, even if it equaled not getting much in return, just so you could create $5, $8, $10 million that you could go out there and fill in some of the more pressing needs for this team. Because, I'm not saying Vasquez and Paddock are not valuable players, but Paddock is the number 5 starter, and they have David Festa who could step in. Vasquez is a light hitting backup at this stage of his career. They have bigger needs than that. But unless you can unload a decent amount of salary, you just can't go shopping even in the, scratch and dent aisle of free agency yet. So the Lopez thing would shake things up incredibly. And I'm sure you could get big value for him. But the problem is, first of all, that sends a horrible message to a fan base that is already pretty frustrated. But then beyond that, are you really going to try to trade Pablo Lopez and still go for this division? Or if you make the commitment to trade Pablo Lopez, are you really then kind of, stepping halfway into a rebuild that would involve trading other guys? And then what happens with Correa? What happens with Buxton? They have no trade clauses. So it's a tricky spot, and it all, flows from ownership. I realize this is a very big buzzkill segment for Twins fans, so I'll say this. There is some hope that there is a sale, if not by opening day, then somewhere close to the start of the season. And, we don't know who's going to buy it. We don't know if they'll have the same spending attitude as the Pohlads, although I would argue it can't be much worse than that. And so that's the hope, is that there's an ownership change coming, certainly at some point this year. And when that happens, maybe they can get back to the 150, 160 range in payroll, which is not asking a lot. And that's a huge difference from the 130 to 135 range.
Well, let's finish with that topic, Aaron. Tell me about the possibility of the brothers who own the Phoenix Suns. Ishbia, I think is how you pronounce it.
But don't they own a piece of the White Sox, so they can't buy the Twins also? I thought don't they own a small piece of the White Sox too?
Sell it off. They can sell it off.
They are, right. I think in 2021, they together bought, I don't know what percentage, but a minority stake in the White Sox, which I'm assuming is a small percentage. So yeah, they'd have to sell that off. I mean, I had heard rumors that they might be, they're Chicago guys, so I'm sure they would theoretically prefer to buy the White Sox, but I don't know that.
I've heard that rumor. Reinsdorf is not ready, but I've heard that rumor. That's why I remember when Reinsdorf said, "Make me an offer." That's who he was talking to.
Really?
Yes, because he knows they have the money and they have the want to. Mm-hmm. But now, if he's not going to sell, they probably don't want to wait around. They're like, we can get the Twins now, probably for cheaper, new stadium, better team. Let's take them, see what happens.
I agree.
Yeah, and they've been publicly linked. My partner at The Athletic, Dan Hayes, had a good report a couple weeks ago linking them, their involvement. He's since reported that there are some other parties involved, and he's the one who had the report last week that there's some optimism that the sale is progressing and it could be around opening day. That is really what Twins fans are hanging their hat on right now. It's been a lot of frustration on the field, off the field, ownership-wise, lack of moves. There's this hope that kind of looms over everything now that somebody's going to come in here and hopefully be willing to spend. And if it's someone like the Ishbias or them, as AJ said, they not only are willing to spend, but they clearly want to win. They value winning over trying to squeeze out every dollar from the bottom line. But until that goes through, the conversations surrounding the Twins are, the ones that we're having right now.
Mm-hmm. There's a format in place, and just a comment here. You don't want second, third, fourth generation ownership groups. It's always a disaster. You want people that made their own money, and preferably on the younger side, doesn't have to be super young, but you want people that are going to have fun. It just is what plays, right? The billionaires that want to have fun, that are not counting every penny, is what works for every sport. And the more those people you can get into every sport, the better off the sport's going to be. So I am rooting for the Twins to get what they want, the Twins fans, to get someone in there who actually gives a crap. So Aaron, thanks for joining us, dude. Always really enjoy the combo.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Yep, AJ's allergic to you, but great to have you on, Aaron. Bless you, dude. Wait, can we keep that going for a sec? Do you think that?
Sneezing?
Yeah, sneezing. Do you think that the Ishbia brothers who own the Suns, and sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, I haven't heard their name on TV before, I just see articles. Do you think they're going, hey, we might not get the White Sox for 7 years or whatever it is. They might not really be up
Jerry's
for
made it
sale.
known he's not selling until he passes away.
Right. Well, I don't want to play that game.
If I'm
that's
them,
what I'm
why?
saying.
I can get another team.
Yeah.
And the White Sox need a new stadium. Jerry's made that abundantly clear that he wants a new stadium.
And guess what?
Why do you think Jerry wants a new stadium? So when he sells it, it's worth more. The
Correct.
Twins Stadium was built in 2010. It's relatively new. It's still modern, right?
It's awesome. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's a great
park.
stadium.
Yeah.
Right? It's in the middle. And if you can get that team now for 1.5, let's say, and then, Jerry lives hopefully for a long time, right? 6-7 years, and then they sell it later, and they might not have a stadium. They might not even be in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. The big problem with the White Sox is that if you do want a new stadium, Chicago is one of the cities that will fight you and not give in. And even if you're so rich that you want to pay for your own stadium, there is a bigger umbrella at play. MLB and the owners won't necessarily let you do that, because if you do that, that's the leverage that other places will say, go pay for it yourself, right? The message from all is we don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So they might not be allowed to, even if they bought the White Sox. They might say, hey, we'll fund it. We'll do who is it? Steve Ballmer in LA, right? Didn't he do that for the Clippers? It's like, I'll just pay for it all myself. And some others have done it.
I think there's a little bit of him that regrets. If you talk to people,
really?
He's like, well, because the team's not good anymore.
Yeah.
And so he built this new stadium thinking he'd have George and Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, right? And they're not good anymore. So he's like, man, I built this $1 billion stadium.
They could be good again, though.
You would think.
It's all cyclical.
They're
The
not
Warriors
bad.
are.
They're not bad
sick.
this year.
Yeah, the Warriors have had an insane run over the last. I mean, I don't know about them this year, but I'm saying they've had a really good run, and I think they kind of funded their own spot too.
Yeah,
that franchise was not worth crap not that long ago, and now it's
not until Steph showed
beloved.
up.
Right. Hey, one other team to relate it to baseball, guys, like Kratz. I think people forget, what was it, 12, 13 years ago? Frank McCourt owned the Dodgers, and they were kind of a mess. And now they're worth a little bit more.
Guggenheim Group came in and they put people in place. They were building to this, and people were like, oh, yeah, they're going to be great for the next 10 years. They're going to be great for a long time after that, and they've been great already for 10 years, and it hasn't been that long since we're screwing it up.
I'm curious to get everyone's thoughts here. The award goes to really the Hall of Famers that will be announced next week is what we're talking about here. There's some obvious names. We can get into a debate maybe later this week or early next week. But Mark Bowman, who covers the Braves, put something out there about Brian McCann. And I'm going to read the back and forth, and then we can go down the line on thoughts. We do have two catchers on here, and also I'm sure Cam's fired up about this one too. So Bowman tweeted, Joe Mauer was a first ballot electee, and Brian McCann might not get the 5% necessary to stay on the ballot. He said, make it make sense. He's showing the career WAR for 53.5 for Mauer, 52.1 for McCann. And then he said, WAR from 2005 to 2013, McCann's first year, and Mauer's final year as a catcher. He said 45 for Mauer, 40.2 for McCann. He said Mauer was a first ballot electee. McCann might not get the 5% needed to stay on the ballot. Make it make sense. Let me just give you a couple replies. So someone replied and said 92% of McCann's F WAR came from defense. 85% of Mauer's WAR came from offense. If you compare their baseball reference WAR, which values defense differently, it says that they're not close. It says Mauer's 55.2 and Brian McCann is 32, according to those metrics. We put him 35th all time for catchers versus Mauer being 7th. And then one more here from Bowman, a reply. This makes sense. It should be noted McCann's offense diminished with the shift as he continued to play a demanding position. Mauer's offense benefited as he didn't handle the catching duties after 2013. And the reply from a Twitter user there was, Mauer's best offensive seasons all came when he was still a catcher. If you use baseball reference WAR, his best seasons came in the stretch from 06 to 13. Outside of an outlier season in 17, his WAR was not even close to his peak numbers after he had to move to first base. Good combo. Thoughts? AJ first?
I hate WAR.
I know that.
Here's I don't hate WAR. I understand WAR, but here's my thing. I'm looking at the stats now. Okay. Joe Mauer had a higher average, a higher OBP, and a higher OPS plus. Why? Because WAR values walks. Brian McCann had almost double the homers he has, more RBIs than Joe Mauer had. Not as many stolen bases, fine.
Whatever.
But it to me, WAR overvalues walks. Joe Mauer walked a lot and hit a lot of singles. It overvalues walks to me. And that's where I have the biggest holdup. Now, you want to go fielding for catching? How? Brian McCann had, some good pitchers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So did Joe Mauer,
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
McCann
but my
his whole
biggest
career.
thing is Brian McCann was a catcher for his whole career, right?
Yes.
Joe Mauer, and I love Joe Mauer, but you're supposed to have 10 good years at a position. If 6 to 13, that's not 10 years, okay, at a position. He went to first base, okay? He had really one when he won MVP, which he should have won. In 2009, I think it was, he won the MVP, okay? And he hit a lot of home runs. Other than that, he didn't hit a lot of home runs. But he still walked a lot, and he still got on base because he walked and he took his singles, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, Brian McCann, if we're going to have this argument, Brian McCann, if Joe Mauer's in, if you mix up the numbers, again, walks are way overrated in WAR for me. I don't know the formula, but I know that they're overrated because there's a million. You can flip-flop guys here and there and everywhere, and you can find this guy is better. Even though the eye test, this guy was better. And I'm not saying McCann was better than Joe Mauer. But what I'm saying is if Joe Mauer was a first ballot Hall of Famer, then Brian McCann should definitely be in the damn discussion.
Mm-hmm.
He shouldn't be off the ballot. Jorge Posada definitely should be in the discussion. Okay? And I'm just saying, like, McCann and Mauer, neither one of them won or actually McCann did win a World Series. Mauer never won a damn playoff series.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's just it doesn't make sense to me sometimes. And this is not a knock on Joe Mauer. He was a great player. He's in the Hall of Fame. God bless you. I love Joe. But Brian McCann needs to be in the discussion.
So
Absolutely.
he's got a point then. Bowman's got a point.
I agree with Bowman on this.
Huge
one.
point.
Megan
Great
Montemorro
point.
Put out her ballot and had McCann on there, and people were going
No,
crazy.
she had Russell Martin on there.
Oh, she had Russell Martin on there. Okay.
And if you look at Russell Martin's numbers, Brian McCann blows Russell Martin out of the water in every number.
Right.
Every number. Right? So
Not to mention, AJ is so spot on, man. I don't mean to cut you off, AJ, but you literally make so many great arguments. Not to mention offensively, not to mention that he did catch his whole career, 7 Silver Sluggers to Joe Mauer's 5, and he also had two top 25 MVP vote finishes. So, like you said, AJ gave you the numbers, but if you're going by the numbers, like I'm with you. I also agree with AJ that WAR can be somewhat slightly overrated because of the walks. I agree with AJ 100%. I didn't mean to cut you off, AJ. I just you literally hit the nail on the head. Perfectly said.
Get in there, Kratz. What are you doing?
Mark Bowman's such a homer. I can't wait till he comes back on. I can't believe Brian McCann. Walks matter though. I mean, I get it. His WAR walk is the exact same as a hit. It's the exact same.
Is it though?
It is. There's no.
Okay, let me ask you this. I'm gonna say this, and I mean this do not mean this disrespectful at all to Joe Mauer. So Twins fans, Joe Mauer, you know how I love you. We've had a lot of talks and we're friends, okay? But if I had to face one of them in the prime of their career, and I faced Joe Mauer a lot, right? Joe Mauer was going to hit you a single. Brian McCann was going to try and take you to the upper deck, and he did it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That was the difference to me, right? Joe Mauer would go up there and, I got Justin Morneau hitting behind me. He'll drive me in from first. I'll take my walk or I'll slash my single to left, which is great, right? But if we look at it now, Joe Mauer's Luis Ariz, and everyone says Luis Ariz is a terrible player,
Facts.
right? So it just doesn't make sense.
Except for the walks. Except for the walks.
Well, the walks. But Joe didn't strike out. Joe struck out more than Luis Ariz does, but he also walks more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but Luis Ariz, I mean, there were years where Joe's had 6-7 homers like Luis Ariz. Brian McCann was going up there. Brian McCann came up. you're like, I better pay attention here because this dude could make it 3-0 quick.
Right. He could change the game.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Not that Joe couldn't. Joe did it a different way. But to me, as a catch, and I hope Kratz would agree with me on this, I was much more afraid that dude could take me deep than a guy that could hit a single.
Much more afraid? Yeah, absolutely. You're afraid,
Yeah.
but you can pitch to a guy that wants to only take you deep. If that's what you're saying, you have a whole lineup of dudes. This is what we argue all the time. A whole lineup of dudes that just want to hit dingers. You can pitch to that. To me, it doesn't. If you have guys who can execute, you can pitch to those type of people. That's where I think Joe Mauer has the edge. The fact that he got on base almost at 39% clip. The fact that he did it differently, I get it. But at his position, what he did, would it have all been the same? Would he have gotten the same accolades? Would he have been first ballot? I believe he's a Hall of Famer. Would he have been first ballot had he not been 1-1 from Minnesota, played in Minnesota his whole career? Like, is there other storylines that enabled him to get that? Because Brian McCann is, I might be mistaken, but I thought he's from Georgia, so he's a local kid. Played with Atlanta for a long time. Didn't play, Athens, Georgia. So you sit there and you go, is it the storyline that made him a first ballot Hall of Famer? Maybe, but I don't think anybody here would argue the fact that he's not a Hall of Famer. I just think maybe not first ballot, and I don't think McCann is in there. The thing that blows my mind about McCann is the fact that he played as much as he did. AJ, you did it too. You played more than him. But he played as much as he did down in hot Atlanta. I mean, it was smoking hot down there. And that dude just was out there every single day, sweating like Melky Cabrera at a drug test.
All right, let me ask you this question, Kratz. You said his position mattered. Okay. He played 100 games 5 times in his career as a catcher. 5 times, okay, as a catcher. Joe Mauer, right? He played starting in 2011, where he played 52 games at catcher. Then he played 74, 75, and then he became a full-time first baseman. So he basically played catcher for 6 years, full-time.
And less than and 100 games at max.
But people say, oh, he was a catcher, so his position matters. But is 5 years enough? 6 years enough at that position to warrant you being a guy against a guy who played there his whole career and got penalized? Because you get penalized as a catcher. I'm sorry. You can say what you want, but the position takes a toll on your offense. Other than maybe Pudge Rodriguez. It was unbelievable, right?
Different, though.
Different. But still, I'm just saying.
PED allegations.
Say whatever you want. I didn't say that.
Suspicions.
I didn't say that, okay?
Suspicions.
I didn't say that. But I'm just saying.
Only the Lord knows.
But is that enough time as everyone? That was the big argument. Well, he did this as a catcher.
I agree.
For 5 years. And then he became something else, which is fine. And I'm not arguing Joe Mauer shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame at all. He should be. He's in. Great. Congratulations. I'm just saying Brian McCann needs more. Jorge Posada needs to be looked at more.
Dude, Posada needs love. We got to talk about
I'm sorry.
Him. Yep.
Like, it just do. And now Russell Martin was a little bit different. Russell Martin, they're all talking about the framing and this and that, like the defensive part of it. Cool. But, I mean, Yadi Molina is going to go in, right?
Yes.
Whenever he's up, which is soon.
Yep.
He's going to get in, right? But he was a catcher every day. And his numbers don't put Brian McCann numbers up against Yadi Molina. Brian McCann blows him out of the water.
Underrepresented position. We've been talking about it for a while. So curious to get everyone's thoughts. If you're watching this after the fact or listening to this after the fact, send in your thoughts on the guys that we just talked about. We'll swing right back on FT to go over some other rumors for trades and signings. BetMGM over under. Leo presenting us with the Minnesota Twins today at 83.5. Cam, you go first. Over under 83.5 wins as of this current roster for the Twins, which probably isn't going to change much.
They won 82 last year? I think I go under. I'm taking the under. They haven't shown me they can stay healthy enough. Again, the starting three, Pablo Lopez is good. I like Bailey Ober. After that, it's like flip a coin. The bullpen's okay. Byron Buxton hasn't shown me that he can stay on the field, so I'm gonna say under.
What do you think, AJ?
I think they're a 500 team right now. Right now, I take the under.
So you think it'll be close, though? It's not an easy
80
one.
to 82 win team, just like they were last year.
Yep.
Okay.
They haven't done anything. I think the division might have improved, but I think they're around the same they were last year. I think I'll take the under. If I have to pick a side, I'm gonna take the under because they prove they're not gonna do anything at the trade deadline. So
True.
Take the under.
True.
And they've got a roster full of proven hurt guys.
True. Anyone going against this, Kratz?
I can't,
tough.
but
They
I
have
would
good
say I'm
farm
higher than. I say I'm higher than you guys. I'm higher than you guys. I feel like this team is a playoff team. I feel like they hit a brutal stretch, and Cam said their bullpen's kind of meh. I think their bullpen was worn out in 23. Talking to one of the guys that was in that bullpen, and I think that kind of showed in 24. So. Maybe they rebound because that was an elite bullpen just a year ago. And a lot of the guys, like you said, they haven't changed the roster. A lot of those guys are back.
I'm actually going to go against you guys. Over 84 wins.
That's the number I was thinking, but I can't say 84.
Yeah.
I will say this too, Kratzy, to add to your point, and I do apologize to the
quick
Twins
Cams,
fans
we got to go.
if I did say they were I do think the bullpen is the best part of their team, actually. Yeah. I actually do like some of those guys. I look at the roster. I do.
There you go. Hey, BetMGM people, each Wednesday throughout the season, pick the skater you think's going to light the lamp first in a game. And if that's not the player that ends up doing it, but he scores the second goal of the game, then you get your stake back in cash. So go check it out at BetMGM on their sportsbook. Call 1-800-GAMBLER if you have a gambling problem or concern. And we'll be right back. Hot corner time, going over some rumors. Whatever, I'm going to say it. We were talking about the Twins in the break. I didn't have time to get my joke in, but I really wanted to get it in. So I'm just going to say it right now. I think the Twins win a few more games if they don't pitch hit Manny Margot this coming season. They probably lost 3 games from not pinch hitting him. I'm sorry. He was like, did he ever get one? Or was it 0 for 35 or whatever? He got one? I got to look it up, but I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't care about I like analytics. I like saying, hey, we plug this in, this works. I think by the last week of the season, he was at least 0 for 29. So whatever. I had to go off script and talk about that for a moment. That's insane. Have you ever heard of that?
Read
the room. Pinch hitting pinch hitting means I know it's different nowadays because there's platoons and stuff, but you're not coming. You're generally coming into a game in a spot where they really need you. And it could decide the game or really tilt things. 0 for 29?
It's crazy.
It's a lot.
Crazy. Usually you get thrust into that role. And listen, one year I was thrust into that role in 2018, and I actually hated that I was good at it because usually they want you to be good at it. 0 for 29 is crazy work.
Thank you. I just wanted to point that out because I didn't want to forget that. And I feel bad for Manny, but they were getting to a crazy spot. And I remember it started to become a big theme, and you're watching games and you're like, this is a big spot. And there was one game, remember we ranted about it late in the year. They took someone out who had been their best hitter for like the last month.
Had 3 RBIs. Yep.
Had 3 RBIs in the game. I can't remember who it was right now, but it had been one of their better hitters.
It wasn't Willie Castro, was it?
No, it wasn't Willie Castro.
I can see what the dude looks like. I can't think of his name, though.
This is worth it for this seg. If you guys are bored, I'm sorry, but it's worth it for. Oh, Trevor Larnach. Wasn't it Larnach?
There you go.
Probably.
I think it was Larnach or Wallner. It was one of those two.
No.
That had a good month.
Who's the local?
No.
Who's the local guy? Is Wallner the local guy?
Larnach, I think.
All right. It was one of those two. They were feeling good, and they were just like, nope, this is what our computer says. You're coming out for 0 for 29. And then he struck out and they lost. It was something like that. So,
About to get hot.
Anyway, all right. Yeah. Yeah. You're 0 for 29 till you're not, but you really
Any
weren't.
minute now.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I think that's all we have time for. So let's hit a break so we have a few minutes for slap hands when we come back, and then we can answer a few questions that we've been getting during the show. So be right back, FT fam.
Usually it doesn't come from the player. I'd say 99% of them come from the team, right? You're usually having to sell your team and show the level of interest to the player. In this particular case, I think, obviously there's some method behind what Boris Corp decided to do on this. If you offer that 3-year deal out there on the marketplace, there might be other teams that would jump in on that. I mean, you look at Tampa, who usually doesn't spend any money. They need offense. The shorter term deals are usually better obviously for them. Seattle, all of a sudden their owner might wake up and say, okay, let you spend some money, not just for Donovan Solano, but for Pete, for more money for Pete. Like, there's multiple areas that if you made this known out there that, or made it known to the general managers, not publicly, that this was available to other teams, that I think presumably teams would jump in at that level. So I think he might have to some degree boxed himself in, right, to just the Mets. But I don't know. You guys know this. I'm sure AJ or Eric, from a player perspective, like, all right, your main goal is to go to the Mets, but if the Mets aren't going to go to that number, would that preclude you from, asking for 3 years or more from someone else? I think from the team perspective, I'd love to have Pete Alonso. I want that. I'd take him on whatever deal I could get, even if he said he wanted a 1-year deal. I would, forego any hurt feelings to get him in my lineup. But, I think Pete would be willing to do that, obviously. But I don't know. That's my thought on this. Is I don't think he's going to exclude any teams if the Mets decide to not go down to this level. But I cannot imagine that the Mets wouldn't try to work out this deal. This is too good to be true, I feel like.
It's kind of said, hey, look, like, we have a lot of interest in doing something long-term with Brent. The idea of just buying out arbitration was never really discussed. It was always arbitration and then 1 year or then 2 years, and kind of looking at taking away a few years of free agency as well. And then that obviously just kind of started the discussion, started the process, something that I was very open to the whole time. I love where I'm at, and especially just kind of the arc that my career has taken. I thought it was a really good opportunity for me to take advantage of the situation that I'm currently in. So, we went back and forth a few times throughout the course of the offseason. We were able to kind of, they expressed what was important to them. We expressed what was important to us, and we were able to reach some common ground and do something that we really thought made sense for both sides.
All right, let's lap. Got time for a few things. First off, Cam, I saw a little announcement action on social media. You got something for us?
Yes, sir. One more Maybin on the way. The last and final one, hopefully.
You never know.
Let's go.
You never know. You got baby boy Maybin coming through?
Yeah. We're gonna go with Cannon. Working on the middle name. We'll see when the time comes, but I'm thinking nice. Cannon Knox, Maybin on the way.
That's a strong name. That's a big league name.
I'm gonna send him down to Florida. AJ, I'm sending him down to Florida, bro. We gonna get behind the dish, all right? As soon as he gets here, I'm gonna send him down to AJ because AJ will be hard on him. Give him that good old school tough love.
Another baby, Cam. Cam, you got old knees. You got old knees, Cam. You can't.
Hey, I can still dunk, man. My knees are good. It's the back. It's just when I land, my back is a little tight. My knees still work good.
Cam,
if you know what I mean.
Cam, You 18 years. You 18 years till that house
Hey,
is cleared out.
look how good I look though, man. This kid's gonna think he's got a young parent. That's the thing.
Cam.
I'm totally on your side.
I ain't. I don't want no kid.
I'm
Cam,
having
get
kids
involved,
late.
man.
I'm with you. I'm
I
with
got
you, Cam.
one, man. I need one
Get
more.
another
man.
one.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all
AJ,
good.
you're on board.
My
Yeah,
kid's
but
out of the house.
hold
I ain't
up.
want no other ones.
Hold up, you guys.
Nope.
Guys.
That's it. See you,
All right.
boys. That's it. Good
Wait,
for me.
wait. Let's be real here. Cam is 37. Okay? We've all
Okay,
got it.
I ain't want no kid at 37 either.
I understand, but you guys aren't 37. Just being fair.
That puts him at 55, 56 when his kid graduates. He's going to be the old man in the cane.
Yeah,
That's right.
and I'm still gonna be the best, most in shape 55-year-old in the pickup line. Okay, I'm still gonna be in shape, looking good at 55 in the pickup line. Right? Everybody else's kids, they won't be able to play with them. I'll still be at 55, be able to cross my kid up. You know what I'm saying? Get a bucket on them, maybe strike them out. It's all good, man. Good genetics, bro. It's all good.
Thank you. I'm with you. Team Cam on that one. Kratz, what do you got? Kratz hats.
It's my friend. My friend gave me this hat.
It's nice.
Thank you,
You like
AJ.
I gave it to him.
Oh, you gave it to him?
Yeah, I love that hat.
Nice.
That's sweet.
That's a nice one.
Now get it. Now get it back on. Now get it back on. Head.
I paid
AJ
good
is my
money for
friend.
Yeah.
Mark wouldn't reimburse me. So, yeah, I paid good money for that.
What's good money?
is
How
my
much for that
friend.
hat on our way out?
I wanted to get him another one, but he wasn't on the team. They had a Columbus Clippers hat since he wears the Clippers and Iron Pigs every day. I sent him a picture of it. It was like 2015 champions, but he's like, I went on that team. So I ain't buy it.
Okay.
I couldn't afford it. He never get home.